wide receiver Danny Gray heading into year two, the 6 foot, 200-pound wide receiver out of SMU, the former third round pick. Don't forget, man, he gets labeled as this burner, right? This go ball savant. He runs the 9 route. That's about it. I really do believe Danny Gray is much more than that. And I mean, you look at the stats, and I understand why a lot of people are kind of questioning Danny Gray. He had one reception for 9 yards on the entire year. However, Danny Gray played in 13 games. He excelled as a gunner on special teams, which I do believe is going to be a reason why he's going to be able to solidify his roster spot. And then on top of that, I am a believer in Danny Gray. As someone who scouted in pre-draft, actually, my story on Danny Gray is this. I went into the SMU tape looking at Reggie Robertson, the wide receiver on the opposite side of Danny Gray. And while I was watching Reggie Robertson, I was like, who's this other guy? The other guy was Danny Gray. And then I went down this rabbit hole on watching all this film on Danny Gray. And of course, that 4.33 speed jumps off the tape. But what jumped off the tape the most to me was his ability to fight for contested footballs. He would go up in high point footballs, fight the ball, and snatch it away from DBs. He had this balance in the air that I thought was phenomenal. And I really do think Danny Gray can also do it over the middle of the field. And we understand, man. Kyle Shanahan runs a tough ship over there for rookie wide receivers. It's really hard. Ask Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel on his way to the Super Bowl discussed how he thought he never was going to see the field as a rookie. And when you look at who's ahead of Danny Gray, you had Ayuk, Deebo, Jennings, and Ray McLeod. Some quality wide receivers. So, of course, he didn't get a ton of playing time, and he didn't get a ton of stats to come along with it. But as I was watching film later on in the year, we already know what it is. I had Brandon Ayuk on my channel, and Brandon Ayuk told me, he said, no block, no rock. If you're a wide receiver, you got to block in this scheme. And one of the things that really stood out to me late in the year is you could see Danny Gray putting a big effort into the run blocking game. And to me, that is huge for getting him onto the field more. We do know he showed up to OTAs adding more weight and getting bigger, which is going to benefit him in the run game as well. So I'm not ready to call Danny Gray a bust. Not just yet. Now, the production wasn't great, but I go back to last year's training camp when I was covering the training camp practices. Brandon Ayuk was by far and away the best player in training camp, by far. But there was one day where it wasn't Brandon Ayuk who was the best player on the field. It was Danny Gray. Danny Gray had a day during training camp where he went berserk and he was doing everything. And to me, that was okay, it's translating. We just have to do it more consistently. So I think Danny Gray takes a step forward. I think he's going to challenge Ray McLeod for more snaps on the field. I wouldn't quantify it as a breakout because there's so many weapons. So it's going to be really hard for Danny Gray to get a ton of production. But I do think he knocks off that bust moniker that has been given to him. We see him on the field more. He continues to be a special teams player, which is going to be a huge asset for him making this roster. And I see Danny Gray going for about 28 catches, 386 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, again, not a massive breakout, but if you can contribute that to a roster that has George Kittle, CMC, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk, third and Juwan, man, that's quality.